Chapter 22. 40 Winks. Just at that moment, Jack spied the cockpit of the Spitfire sliding open. "What's all this noise? Can't a pilot catch 40 winks in peace?" "Grandpa!" shouted the boy in joy. He had found him at last. "Who's this Grandpa?" asked Grandpa. These days he never answered to that name, but sometimes it was easy to forget. "Wing Commander," Jack corrected himself. "That's better," said the old man as he climbed out of the cockpit and stood on the wing of the Spitfire. Grandpa looked down and saw he was suspended high above the ground. "Silly me, I must still be flying," he muttered to himself, before turning to go back into the cockpit. "No, you're not still flying," corrected the boy. Jack's grandfather peered down at the growing crowd below. "This is most queer." Wing Commander," said the boy desperately, trying to get his grandfather's attention. Grandpa looked in the direction of Jack's voice. The boy was hanging by the tips of his fingers. "Squadron leader, what on earth are you doing down there? Let me help you, old boy." Grandpa shuffled along the Spitfire wing to where Jack was dangling from the Focke-Wulf. The old man was surprisingly strong, and on the other hand, sport was not Jack's strong suit, so he was grateful for the help. In one go, Grandpa heaved the boy up onto the Spitfire wing. "Whoops! Cheers!" Applause broke out among all the children on the ground. Without thinking, Jack wrapped his arms around his grandfather and gave him a big hug. The old man had gone missing over a week ago, and Jack had thought he might never see him again. "Remember, there's a war on, Squadron Leader," said Grandpa gently. He unpeeled the boy's hands from around his waist, and they stood opposite each other and saluted. Suddenly, from behind them came a growl. "You are in big trouble." It was a security guard. Just at that moment, the half-man, half-gorilla took a running jump from the Focke-Wulf onto the Spitfire's wing. The weight of all three of them caused the cable above them to tighten and stretch. Twang! Eek! Then, finally, snap. The Spitfire's wing swung down towards the ground. The plane now hung there with just one cable supporting it. Three figures slid down the wing as the crowd below gasped. Grandpa just managed to seize hold of the plane's propeller. Jack just managed to grab onto the old man's slippers. In turn, the security guard grabbed on to the boy's ankles, and they all swung from side to side like a trapeze act. "Hold on, Squadron Leader," Grandpa called down from the top. "You hold on, Wing Commander," the boy called up. Below them, they couldn't hear someone sobbing. "I don't want to die," blubbed the security guard, choking back a river of tears. "Look down," said Miss Verity calmly. "I'm too scared," he wailed, his voice cracking with terror. The security guard screwed up his eyes as tight as they could go. "For goodness sake, you're about an inch off the ground," sighed the teacher. Slowly the guard opened his eyes and looked down. Being at the bottom of the human chain, his boots were all but scuffing the ground. "Oh," he said, suddenly rather embarrassed. That a large group of school children had seen him reduced to a blubbering mess. He counted to 3 and then let go of Jack's ankles. He dropped down the smallest distance to the floor. The man turned to the teacher. "You saved my life," he choked as he gave Miss Verity the most enormous bear hug and lifted her clean off the ground. "My spectacles are getting squashed," she protested. The whole situation made her look distinctly uncomfortable. This was especially true when she caught the eyes of the school kids, all giggling at their rather proper teacher in an embrace with a man. "What about us?" Jack called down, still holding onto his grandfather's ankles. "I will catch you," said the security guard, in an attempt to regain his macho image. "Let go in 3, 1, 2, 3. Righty-ho, said Grandpa. Before the security guards could say anything, the old man had let go too. Within a blink of an eye, Jack and his grandfather landed on top of the guard, his huge body providing a perfect crash mat. Boing! Having two people fall on top of him knocked him out. The security guard was now lying flat on his back on the floor of the museum. Stand back, everyone, ordered the teacher. I need to give him the kiss of life. With that, Miss Verity bent down to breathe air into the security man's lungs. The man was just dazed and soon came to. Thank you, miss, said the security guard. Verity, but you can call me Veronica. Thank you, Veronica. The pair smiled at each other, then looked up. Looking up, Miss Verity recognised Grandpa. Oh, it's you again, Mr. Bunting. I should have known. With the security guard lying on the floor and a priceless antique Spitfire swinging from the ceiling, Jack thought it best to act as if absolutely nothing had happened. So that's the Battle of Britain covered, Miss Verity, said the boy, in a jolly tone. What next? Next, fumed the history teacher, I'm calling the police. Chapter 23. Nuts and Berries. Like most children, Jack always wanted to ride in a police car. However, he had always imagined he would be sitting up front chasing baddies, not in the back, with a close family member who had just been put under arrest. The police car raced through London with its siren blaring. They were being taken to Scotland Yard for questioning. Little Grandpa seemed to think he had been captured by the enemy. The charge against the old man was criminal damage. The boy had tried to explain to the policeman that if the security guard had not been quite so heavy, the cable suspending the Spitfire would never have snapped. Needless to say, this did not get his grandfather off the hook. The policeman was a very serious-looking character. He sat at the steering wheel, not uttering a word, for the entire journey to police headquarters. As they were seated side by side in the back seat of the police car, Jack turned to his grandfather. I mean, Wing Commander. Yes, old boy. How did you come to be asleep in the cockpit of your plane? In all the excitement, Jack had quite forgotten to ask. Grandpa looked stumped for a moment. He had been missing for a week. The Imperial War Museum was many miles away from home. It all started when I parachuted behind the enemy lines, began Grandpa. Eventually, it was clear that the old man was mightily confused and trying to bind together the events of the past week. That must be his memory of jumping out of the bedroom window at home, thought the boy. I walked for many days and nights, Grandpa continued. I kept off the main road, stuck to the fields and woodland as much as I could, just as we RAF pilots are trained to do if we are in occupied territory. That's why no one saw him, thought Jack. The boy looked down at his grandfather's slippers. They were caked with mud and looked soaked through. But how did you survive? Asked Jack. I ate nuts and berries and drank rainwater. And you slept under the stars. The only way to sleep, squadron leader. Surely you have during your time in the RAF? Asked the old man. Jack felt ashamed to reply, no, never. His grandfather's life had been 100 times more exciting than his would ever be. But how do you know? How did you know where you were going? I must have crossed the border into Allied territory, because from a field I saw this giant sign on a main road. What was on the sign? A great big picture of a Spitfire, with directions no less. Most queer. A billboard for the Imperial War Museum, realised the boy. I must get the Air Chief Marshal on the blower about that. Massive giveaway to the enemy, where the nearest RAF base is. If they do manage to land ground troops, they can follow the directions and march straight there. The boy couldn't help but smile. Everyone else always saw Grandpa's condition as a problem. For Jack, the way his grandfather's mind worked was nothing short of magical. It was getting dark when I finally arrived at the air base, continued the old man, and there were a few little blighters looking around the aircraft hangar. They must have been evacuees. The Imperial War Museum was always full of children. This must be what he meant, thought Jack. I needed to use the bathroom. I hadn't been for a week, and all those nuts and berries make you go. But I was so tired I must have fallen asleep on it. Just 40 winks. When I woke up, somebody had turned off all the lights. I wandered around in the dark for ages, but eventually managed to find my Spitfire. I had to clamber over some other planes to get to her mind. Grandpa was lucky to be alive. Climbing over all those antique planes suspended high in the air was dangerous enough with the lights on. And then what happened, sir? Jack asked, intrigued. Then I thought I would take her for a spin. Up, and away. And all that. Couldn't start the old girl. Must have been out of fuel. Grandpa's voice trailed off, and a mystified look crossed his face. Then I suppose I must have fallen asleep again in the cockpit. Just another 40 winks, you understand. Yes, of course, Wing Commander. The pair sat in silence for a moment before the boy broke it. A wave of love for his grandfather crashed over him. You know, everyone was really worried about you. Grandpa snorted at the thought. No need to worry about me, old boy, he chuckled. The whole of Hitler's Luftwaffe can't stop me. Oh no, this old pilot will always live to fight another day.